Do you ever find yourself in a meeting wishing you could remember exactly what was said last time you spoke to the person? Maybe it's a sales call, maybe it's a coaching call, maybe it's a one-to-one with your staff. And knowing what you said could be the difference between closing that deal or making that connection or just progressing whatever it is that you talked about last time. Now, I have a terrible memory, so I need to make extensive notes when I'm in meetings, otherwise I can't remember anything that was said. Once I jog my memory, I'm all right, but I need that push just to be able to unlock that part of my brain so I can actually recall what was said. But that often means I'm distracted in the meeting making notes, and I can lose those notes, or they get disorganized, or I don't make them very well, and trying to decipher my own handwriting sometimes is an absolute nightmare. I try making them on my keyboard, but it doesn't really work, and I'm distracted, and I'm not really part of the conversation because I'm actually trying to type on my keyboard, and it gets a bit messy. So anything that can help me to be better in meetings, to feel more connected with the person, to remember those key facts or just the personal comments that people made, and the ability actually to recall that in the moment is game changing. And today I want to talk about a specific feature of the Fathom note-taking app that has changed everything. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to share some of the top tips I've learned from using Fathom after recording well over 1,000 meetings in Fathom, and I've been using it now for over 12 months. But before we kick off, take a moment to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on our weekly interviews, app reviews, and top tips for making a business that serves you, that allows you to live the freedom-driven lifestyle that you desire. So the question is this: how do entrepreneurs like us who don't have an endless supply of cash, how do we leverage the best apps, virtual assistants, automation tools, and systems to scale our businesses, increase our profits, and have more time to do what we love to do each day? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name's Dr. Steve Day, and this is Systemize Your Success. Today's main topic is a single feature of the Fathom note-taking app that has totally transformed the way I run my meetings. I've been using Fathom for over 12 months and I wasn't aware of this particular feature until really recently. However, since I've started using it, it has just made life so much simpler when it comes to my meetings. Doing this will make you look more professional, it'll make you look more engaged, it'll make you look like you're listening and remembering everything that was said in the previous meeting. So it can only be a massively good thing, whether that's building relationships with your staff, it's connecting with your coaching clients, or remembering that nugget of information that's the difference between you closing a deal or not. Having a succinct summary of the details of every conversation you've ever had with that person at your fingertips during the call is an absolute game changer, and that is exactly what this feature does. And if you want to check out Fathom for yourself, head over to sys.academy/tools, and on there you'll find our link where you can get a couple of months of the paid version of the app for free, so you can check out all the features. Now, unlike many of the other note-taking apps I've tried, Fathom has a cool widget that sits on your desktop and alerts you to upcoming meetings. For me, this is cool because I forget everything and I need something to prompt me when something's going to happen so I don't miss it. I'm continually living in my calendar, but even then I miss stuff. So having something pop up and tell me a meeting's about to happen and gives me a nice button to click to start the meeting is a game changer for me actually arriving on time. But that's not the game changing feature I'm talking about today. See, when you start a meeting with someone who you've previously had a meeting with, the desktop widget will show you when that meeting last happened and give you a link that you can click to automatically open up the meeting summary within the Fathom app. That gives you access to the meeting summary in an AI note form that you can then click to actually open up any of the parts of the meeting. But you can also have this thing called Ask Fathom. Ask Fathom allows you to basically have a little chat GPT, if you like, with that meeting transcript. So I can ask Fathom anything about that meeting while I'm on the call in natural English. It will then pull up the answer and give me the answer to my question during the call. So for example, if I'm in a meeting with one of my staff or it could be a sales call, I just type in the question of the thing I want it to actually remind me about. The AI will then go into the transcript from the previous meeting and then find what we talked about and summarize it really succinctly. So I can then glance at that, quickly have a look, and then be reminded of everything we talked about around that particular topic. And similarly, I can pull up any call I've ever had with that particular person or with a particular title, a meeting type, for example. It will then pull up every meeting I've ever had. I can do the same thing by clicking on the meeting, opening up and then asking Fathom about anything I want to do that meeting. And therefore, I've got basically every meeting I've ever had with that particular person at my fingertips during the meeting, so I can be reminded or prompted, or we can go back and review stuff. So maybe we actually have a discussion and I can say, hold on a minute, I can go and see what we said last time. I can review what the action points were. And Fathom does all that stuff like create action points and notes and all the rest of it, like most AI note-taking apps do, but it's this ability to ask Fathom anything I want about any meeting I've ever had with that person, which is a game changer. And the fact I have a button there in front of me to be able to click to open up the previous meeting recording I've had live while I'm actually doing the call makes it absolutely seamless. But we can also take this Ask Fathom to a whole nother level when you start thinking about prompt engineering. So I did some amazing sales training with a guy called Matt Elwell, and I've interviewed him on this podcast previously. Matt has a great book called Open with a Close, and in that he has a framework called Punt with a Cue. It's a way of formatting a sales call that allows you to really pull out all of the key information that you need in order for you to be able to help that person make the right decision of whether or not to actually come and work with you. It's an incredibly useful framework. I used to have a template that I printed out and I make notes during my call, and then I'll try and find those notes later whenever I did the follow-up call. But inevitably I'd forget or I'd be late for that call and I wouldn't have time to review them. But now we're using Fathom. I simply open up the previous call that I've had with that person. I go into Ask Fathom and I paste in a prompt that I've created that goes into the transcript and then summarize it using that punt with a cue formula. And I even use ChatGPT to create the prompt. So whatever framework you want to use to actually summarize the context of the conversation, so it could be a coaching call or a sales call or whatever, go into ChatGPT, tell it about the framework, or maybe it will already know if you ask it to go and research that and go and find that information on the internet. Get that information and say, right, create me a prompt so I can ask an AI to summarize the transcript of a sales call using the framework that you just discussed. Something along that lines. That's exactly what I did to create mine. ChatGPT just gave me this prompt, and you can edit this to however you want. It says, please summarize the following sales call transcript using Punt with a Cue, based on the Open with a Close book by Matt Elwell. The summary should be structured into the following 5 categories: pain, urgency, need, trust, quantify. And for each of those, I've actually got a little description, which ChatGPT generated for me. At the end, it says, keep the summary in a bullet point and focus only on the information that will help assess fit, tailor, follow up, or plan the next steps in the sales process. So it's being super summarized, it's being very specific, it's getting rid of all of that chit chat that you have and pulling out the key information. This means when I now have a sales follow-up call, I don't have to have made any notes previously. I don't have to even reviewed the previous call. I simply get on the call and just literally as we're starting, I'll open up the Fathom recording of our previous call. I'll copy and paste that prompt into the Ask Fathom. It then generates the summary in that nice pump with the cue order that I understand because I've been through that training. That's what I find useful and helpful. And therefore, in like 10 seconds, I can glance down that and be totally ready to have that sales call in a professional way. Like that has transformed the way I perform in calls and my confidence. Actually feeling like, yeah, I actually remember what was said. I'm actually engaging with this person on a totally different level now. I do the same thing for my coaching calls and the same thing for my one-to-ones and my meetings with my staff. It means that I now feel confident. I feel more professional. I feel like I'm giving my clients a better level of service. It feels like I'm engaging with prospects in a much more professional and meaningful way. And I'm able to support my staff and actually look like I can remember what the hell we talked about last time, all thrown into the mix. It's absolutely game changing, and I highly recommend you check it out. And if you want to check this out for yourself, head over to sys.academy/tools. On there is our affiliate link where you get 3 months free of the paid version of Fathom. Now, as I said before, the free version is cool, but this Ask Fathom thing is actually a paid feature. You can still open up the recordings and actually get the summaries, etc. But to use this Ask Fathom, you need to have the paid version. So if you use our affiliate link, you'll get 3 months for free, and then you can decide if you want to actually upgrade or not. You don't have to put your credit card details in to check it out, but you can go and have a play and see if you, like me, think it totally revolutionizes the way you do meetings. To me, it's an absolute no-brainer and is money well spent. So that's it for today. Please do hit subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. We release these every single week. Interviews, top tips, and reviews on everything you need to systemize your business, to outsource your work, and to create a freedom-driven lifestyle that you deserve. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time.